Hey, what's up, guys? It's Mr. Hoppark here with a homework help video on lesson 5.1, homework, moving equations to slope-intercept form. Okay, so let's start first with number 1. We got negative 7x equals negative 2 plus y. So we'll zoom in here. So the first step you have to ask yourself is this: is y on the left side? Y is not on the left side. So what you're going to do is the easiest move is to just switch them. Okay, to literally just flip the equation. So it would look like this: negative 2 plus y equals negative 7x. Okay, and then from there, now we have y on the left side. So you just go back to the top of your flowchart and say, is y on the left side? Yes, it is. So move everything else. I'm going to circle this. Move everything else to the right side using inverse operations. So I would start by adding 2 right here because it's the inverse of minus 2. But what I do to one side, I have to do to the other. And now this equals y equals negative 7x plus 2. I can't combine those because they're not like terms. And then now I have my equation y equals negative 7x plus 2. So this would be very easy to graph because now we have the y-intercept and the slope. So we started by switching it and then moving everything else to the right side. Let's go to number 4 real quick. Is y on the left side? It is not on the left side, so switch it. So you got 2y equals 0. Well, we still do not have y isolated. We have this 2. Right now the 2 is being multiplied times the y. So we're going to do the inverse of multiplication, which is division, and divide both sides by 2. Well, 2 over 2 cancels, and then y equals, when 0 is on top, your answer is 0. So y equals 0 would be that. Okay, which is in y equals mx plus b, but there is no slope. Though your y-intercept is just simply 0. Look at number 5. Negative x minus 2 equals negative y. So is y on the left side? No, it's not, so you can just switch it. Negative y equals negative x minus 2. So literally, if you look, I took this and I flipped it. Okay? So now, the only issue is that this is not, we can't have a negative y. But notice there's a 1 there. In front of all variables, there's a 1. So what you can do is just divide everything through by negative 1. Now what that does is that it doesn't change any numbers. It just simply changes their sign. So that cancels, and you're left with y. And think about a 1 being there. Negative 1 divided by negative 1 would be a positive 1x, or you can just say x. And then negative 2 divided by negative 1, and negative divided by negative is a positive. 2 over 1 is 2. So y equals x plus 2. Okay, going to number 8. Now 8 is negative x plus 2. Now here's the thing. There is no y here. So we can't even ask ourselves, is y on the left side? So if there's ever a case when you don't have a y, what you're going to do is you're going to solve for x then. Okay, so notice x is right here. So I want to isolate that. So to isolate that, I would subtract 2 from both sides. When I do that, 2 minus 2 cancels, and then I have negative x equals negative 2. Not quite done. I then divide everything by negative 1 to isolate that x. That cancels. I got x is positive 2. If you remember how we would graph this line, we would plot that number on that axis, then draw a line that goes through that axis. So if you can think about this on a graph, it would look like this. So on the x, plot that number on that axis, and then it's going to be a line that goes up and down, if you can kind of picture that on a graph. Okay, so that would be it for the front side. Going to the back side now, looking at let's look at number 11 to start. So look at number 11. Is y on the left side? Yes, it is. So I'm going to circle the y just so I know that's what I'm trying to isolate. So what I do with this, I'm going to add it because it's the inverse. So add 15 to both sides. That cancels. I have what's left on the left side, 3y equals, I cannot combine those because you cannot combine 4x and 15. Now, if 15 was if it was 15x, we could, but since they're not, you cannot. So it's 4x plus 15. Then I'm going to divide both sides, or everything, by 3 to isolate y. Y equals 4/3 x plus 5. Looking at 13, 13 is negative x equals 2, so there is no y. So if there's ever a case when you don't have a y, solve for x. So what you do here is just basically divide everything by negative 1, which just switches the sign, so x equals negative 2. Looking at 16, 0 equals negative 4x minus 2 minus 2y. Okay? Now, I'm actually going to work this problem two different ways because there's two ways to do this. First way is you could flip the whole thing. Negative 4x minus 2 minus 2y equals 0. So that's your first way, is to just flip it. And then begin to solve, then ask yourself the question, is y on the left side? Yes, it is. It's right here. So what you'd have to do is move everything else to the right side. So I just do one thing at a time. So I'm going to start by adding 4x. So I add 4x to both sides. That cancels. I got negative 2 minus 2y equals 4x. And then again, is y on the left side? Yes, it is. I'm going to circle that again. And then I got to do the inverse of this, minus 2, which would be add 2 to both sides. That cancels. Negative 2y then equals 4x plus 2. Then I'm going to divide everything through by negative 2. And I get y equals negative 2x minus 1. Now, I mentioned in class today that this is an abstract concept because there's multiple ways you can see it, and that's what often gets kids confused. So, another way you could do this is like this. So, if I was to rewrite the problem, you can always, we ask ourselves, is y on the left side, and your answer is no. You can either flip it, or something else you could do is to just move the y over to the left side, including its coefficient. So, we have negative 2 right here. You could just add 2y to both sides. That cancels. And now I have 2y equals negative 4x minus 2. Now, you just divide everything by 2. When you do that, this cancels. Y equals negative 4 divided by negative 2 is negative 2. Or negative 4 divided by 2 is negative 2x. Negative 2 divided by 2 is negative 1. And we get the same answers. If you're looking at these two, these are the same answers. We can work it several different ways. Okay, and then from there, that will complete this homework help video over lesson 5.1. Thank you for your attention, and have a good evening.